This is Sarnia Lambton Daily for Wednesday, May 13th. Good evening, I'm Terry Doyle. It's a sign of the times in the region, and more is likely to come. Summer events being canceled over Sarnia Lambton. Over the past 24 hours, the Sarnia Kinsman Ribfest and Petrolia Fair have announced the 2020 events have been postponed. While many are uncertain when large gatherings will be allowed, these events take months to prepare and they require sponsorship, resources that are not necessarily available right now. When it comes to the outbreak locally, the latest numbers show little change from Tuesday. In total, 203 people have tested positive for COVID-19, up one over the last 24 hours. One additional person is considered recovered from the virus. This leaves the total number of active cases in Sarnia Lambton at 41. Well, the federal government has launched a new program to help small and medium-sized businesses dealing with the challenges of the pandemic. For more, let's check in with Don Anderson, General Manager of the Sarnia Lambton Business Development Corporation. And Don, fill us in. What is this program?
So the program that's been launched today is the Regional Relief and Recovery Fund, RRRF. So essentially there's a partnership between the Community Futures organizations in Ontario. There's 37 in Southern Ontario working with our Regional Development Agency here, which is the Federal Development Agency for Southern Ontario, or FedDev as many people refer to it. The Community Futures portion of it, we will be delivering amongst the 37 organizations $39.4 million, while FedDev themselves will be delivering about $215 million into the urban centers and some of the larger amounts. The Community Futures groups will be entertaining applications up to $40,000 each, while FedDev will be taking those over $40,000. And the primary thrust of this is a number of us throughout the CF program nationally have been advocating. As these programs were announced by the federal government, we were recognizing that there was many businesses and entrepreneurs that were essentially falling through the cracks. They were ineligible for the other programs that were announced or are out there already.
Yeah, and I guess that's the thing. We've seen it's sort of the the bigger businesses or certain industries, and I guess it is now. Is this sort of hitting a lot more of the, I don't know if mom and pop is even the right term, but that sort of those smaller businesses that really cumulatively really drive the economy?
Certainly one of the key focuses is what we'll call the sole proprietor, the mom or pop that are running the business, but again, the partnerships and probably a large number of them will be the unincorporated businesses. Things that we look around that you'll see, like the retailers on the likes of Christina or Front or wherever in Lambton County. And similarly, the other folks that seem to be missed are a lot of the folks in the hospitality sector, the restaurants, the small motel operators, and those types of businesses.
So again, I'm sure that's what you've been hearing, that indeed that's an area that has been struggling right now.
They're struggling now, and certainly even based on conversations as recent as this morning, there's a great level of uncertainty in the accommodation sector, especially moving forward. Are we going to have a summer season? Question mark. Are we going to see some relaxation? Even will there be the possibility of doing a cottage rental or moving something forward as an Airbnb property?
And so I guess that's the thing. Are they been, a lot of these people through your network of talking to them have been sort of saying, okay, we need some help here. When is it going to come? And it looks like today's program will finally maybe move that ball rolling a little bit more.
Well, certainly we would like to think that this is one of the answers to the question. It may not be the perfect answer as it is, but it's one of these things that hopefully as we move along and we find there may or may not be some challenges that maybe we can hone it a little bit and make it the answer for more that have missed out on the programs previously.
The businesses you talk to is one of the challenges as well, where maybe some of the services they provide, the big box stores have maybe been able to open up to provide some of those things or some of those products. Or of course, online shopping has done some of those things where they're like, hold on a second here, I need to be able to get into this marketplace as well.
Certainly has been an issue, and one that I know has been a source of frustration for some, that they see that some of the big box stores have been allowed to open because they provide a certain portion of essential goods, but not all are essential, where others have been forced to close. Um, Coming to the Amazon comment, and certainly I'll pick on them especially. We were hearing from businesses in the community around the Christmas period that they were feeling Amazon. They were feeling them on the retail sector. That in some cases, especially in the clothing sector, they felt like they were the change room or the try-on room for Amazon, and then folks would go and order it online. So it was really disheartening in that aspect. But I think we're seeing a stronger sense of shop local recently. There's some good efforts going on. Interestingly, there was an article in Maclean's last week, and I'm trying to remember who the author was, that the person essentially said, I've been in the habit of going online shopping at Amazon, and now I'm going to stop. I'm going to shop locally. With that in mind, we're also encouraging local businesses that if you don't have an online presence, you certainly need to get one. You need to look at social media, as well as have you got an e-commerce access point, that someone can purchase through you directly online. And I know with that in mind that the Economic Partnership has been doing some work in that respect to help folks work on their e-commerce portals.
And I guess that's the thing where some businesses, they took pride, of course, they've always taken pride in that face-to-face customer service and being that local provider and looking for those specific needs. But now with being limited to curbside pickup, where I guess, do you find that's where some places maybe, some were ahead of the curve a little bit, or were more modern, I'll say, where some stuck to their traditional ways, and now to survive, you're going to be able to need to move to those new areas?
Absolutely, there's a disparity. There's some that have already recognized it, and it was amazing how quickly some pivoted into that space, recognizing they had to make that change. Some are still trying to look at it. One of the things I think that you can look at out of something bad, maybe something good comes. And looking back over time, having been in the financial services sector, let's just say it's 40 years and a week or two. Seeing some downturns, usually you see changes coming out of each downturn, and each of them will have a different factor going into it. But a key thing for, I think, a lot of businesses is now is a time to really take a hard look at your business from a strategic standpoint. Do I need to change the way I do business? Do I need to change my delivery points? Do I need to change what it is I'm delivering? Now is an opportunity to really step up, have a look at it, and step back into it. And I'll just segue that part of the expectations with this organization, certainly anyway, and our board, is moving through this regional recovery fund. We are going to be doing, and we've brought additional resources on board. We're going to focus in on business counseling as a key aspect of the service we deliver. And we're certainly looking at spending more time with businesses as they prepare to move forward. We want to do more technical consulting and with them on where are you at, how can you move forward, and what does the world look like when the cloud lifts for you.
Could a silver lining for some businesses, or maybe an opportunity, be the fact that it looks like the border is going to be closed for non-essential trips maybe until at least the start of the summer, and then people will be a little leery in some cases of going across? Could that maybe give at least maybe a little more opportunity for local businesses as they look to catch up?
Absolutely. I think it's an opportunity for some local residents to also discover what's in our backyard, and it's interesting anecdotally to look at some of the comments and that you see on social media of folks that have discovered something, and it's kind of like, oh, I didn't know that was there, and you go, oh, that's been here for about 30 years, but I'm glad you've discovered them. I think you'll enjoy them. I think it certainly gives us an opportunity, kind of twofold. We can recover, get our business operating effectively, and I think moving forward, there's an opportunity here with the differential in the dollars and the exchange rate, that when the border opens up, that we may have a competitive advantage over our friends across the bridge. And certainly, I know there's a number of businesses at this point are not too eager to see that bridge open up, primarily from the perspective that the immediate area across the bridge is one of the highest infection rates in Michigan.
No, so definitely some opportunities there. Finally, before we let you go, the Regional Recovery Fund, people that are small business owners, they're hearing about this for the first time today. What can you pass along in terms of how they can get more information and potentially access this?
So certainly there's a couple means of getting information. They can contact us directly by phone, 519-383-1371. And as our staff are working remotely, we do have phones on forward, so someone will pick up the call so they can speak to either Natalie Johnston or Ashwin Thacker, or we've added Mike DeSantis to help us out through this as well. The other alternative is to go on our website at www.slbdc.com. There will be resources there, not only for this, but related to COVID-19, other governmental programs and that are available. And if they want to take a look, if their need is greater than the $40,000 level, they can go to the FedDev Ontario site and pursue it there.
Dom, I appreciate the update. Stay well, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, Terry.
Stay well. General Manager of the Sarnia Lambton Business Development Corporation, joining us here. You're watching Sarnia Lambton Daily on your TV. Welcome back to Sarnia Lambton Daily here on your TV. Well, as we've done throughout this series, we've been checking in with various organizations in Sarnia Lambton, see how they're doing, see what sort of adjustments they've had to make. Let's check in with Sue Barnes from St. Clair Child and Youth, who joins us now. And Sue, indeed, first of all, how are things going right now?
Actually, things are going pretty smooth right now. When COVID hit, we quickly shut down our physical locations and moved our staff to working from home. So we started off by doing telephone consultations. So clients could call in to our agency, get linked right away to an intake worker who would then get linked them to a therapist within 24 hours. So that went well. We got our stuff together and switched to virtual care. So we've now moved to using face-to-face client interactions through video, as we're doing today. And that's been good. We got that off the ground. And so clients can actually see somebody face-to-face now through video conferencing. And we've also started launching our groups and workshops. That's been a slower process, trying to get, see how that works. And we tested that out with some existing clients already that were in the middle of a group when COVID hit, so they got interrupted. But that's slowly getting off the ground as well now. And so yeah, we're at a point right now where we're good. And we're just sort of looking at how and when do we get back into the building and slowly start bringing in services face-to-face again. But that again will depend on public health and ministry and all those kinds of things, and to ensure that we are ensuring that we have client and staff safety in place.
Was it that first maybe week to 10 days a challenge because, of course, shifting over to more of a virtual way, whether it was by video conference or even by phone, yet the need didn't take any sort of break. The need is there every day, 24 hours a day. So was that a bit of a sort of a challenge in those first 10 days to the adjustment of sort of providing the services, yet knowing, there is no break in the need for service?
It was a huge challenge because we needed to ensure that even staff could work from home and make sure they had equipment to work from home. They couldn't lug their big desktop computers to their houses. They didn't always have cameras. They were sharing computers at home with their families, and sometimes the computer was in the living room. So we really had to make sure we had things in place like confidentiality, even for the phone calls. Where could they go in their houses that no one could overhear them? The numbers at first, I think, because everybody in the public was just so didn't know what to make of this, the numbers went down. We weren't getting in. This was a trend across the province that everybody was seeing in child and adult mental health. We weren't getting the phone calls at first. I know the kids' help phone got overwhelmed, but our phone system wasn't. So it was actually gave us some time to get things in place, which was a good thing. I think people were more worried about, where their next meal was going to come on the table, and, people were losing their jobs and those kinds of things. As that has started to settle down, now we're seeing the increase in phone calls and referrals to the agency. And we anticipate that it's going to get worse once it settles, then people are really going to start paying attention to their mental health. And when kids start trying to go back to school, it'll be an issue as well.
What are you finding now in terms of the need? Say it's gone back up. What is the need now? Are you finding compared to say just a regular time of year, a regular month of May, just not during COVID? Are the numbers up compared to that?
I think so. It's different I mean, our numbers are probably getting comparable now for new referrals coming in. We've had wait lists, so we're able to start clearing off, some of our wait lists while we were transitioning, because it gave staff an opportunity to breathe a bit. And then we were slowly thinking, okay, we're not getting the numbers we anticipated. We could take some kids off the wait list and start working on that. But we are probably starting to see it come back to where it was. Our walk-in, we used to run walk-in 2 days a week. We would get anywhere from 10 to 20 families that would come in each of those days. Now walk-ins it's virtual, right? So people are calling in. So we're getting there. We're getting back up to where we were, but we're really worried about what we're going to see. The predictions that we're seeing we're going to probably see a 60% increase above our normal rates when things get back to semi-normal.
Wow, that's a big increase right there. Well, how would you characterize or describe the needs or the calls that are coming in right now? What are sort of the services people are looking for?
They're looking, a lot of it is around both internalizing and externalizing behaviors. So when I say that, anxiety, depression, anxiety is a big one right now. And I think anxiety is happening at different levels for people. But for families, if you're noticing, it's normal that we're all going to feel anxiety. All of us are feeling this, no matter if you have mental health challenges or not. But for families that are seeing their kids, when it becomes a regular daily behavior that's ongoing and taking over their lives, that's when they need to call for help. You'll see increased irritability, clinginess, withdrawal from things. But, so we're seeing more anxiety, some depression, some trauma. So loss, that's a huge thing, is grief and loss, loss of people in their lives who have passed on from COVID, but also the loss of seeing their friends, social isolation, all those kinds of things are troublesome.
Each case is different, but are you finding sometimes whether it's helping people establish new routines or maybe, just little things like that are helping to at least get them through what's going on right now?
Exactly. Some people only need the single session. So, and then with we put a plan of care in place with a single session, and that's all they really need, because it is like you're saying, Terry, is adjusting to the new normal, right? And how do you adjust to the new normal? And it's very important for parents to keep their kids on a routine, especially if they've got anxiety. It helps to lessen that. So not to change too much, keep some structure in their lives. It helps kids with behavior as well. And, we're fortunate that a lot of our community partners that we've been working really closely with them still, CAS and Pathways in particular, and Canadian Mental Health Association. So we're meeting more frequently than we've ever met. So it's good. All of our community services are coming together. Even, you were talking with Miles earlier and that whole group. So it's a wonderful group to be able to share resources with and talk about these things and work together to set some plans that work for everyone, because it is different, right? We're operating totally different. But you're right, some of the problems we're seeing are simple, and some of them are more in depth and need further attention. And we've got, consultations with pediatricians still happening, with psychiatry still happening, and psychology still happening. It's just all virtual.
Do you find for children the challenge can be as well, where there's so many things where maybe an adult can cope with it differently because they've gone through it, but for example, a child hearing, like today, for example, we found out RibFest was canceled, and then they've heard before this is canceled, and school isn't happening, and their sports team isn't happening, and it's just finding a lot of times these things are just piling on, making it more difficult for them to cope.
Yes, and it depends on their age too, right? It depends on their developmental age, so there's different things happening at each of their developmental age. But especially for the youth, it's a very difficult time for the youth, and they relate and connect with their peers so much more than, it's at that age, right, of adolescence, and they're not able to do that right now. So they don't even have that buffer. They can do it virtually, which, at least our youth are resilient that way. They seem to like computers And you know, a lot of them actually would love just to have virtual counseling all the time. So that's interesting as well, because that's a trend that will probably keep going in the future for those youth who want that. But it is a difficult time for kids, you know, and if the parents are worried on top of that and expressing their fears, you know, kids look towards their parents for guidance and support, right? They're their comfort zone. They're their sense of attachment and security and safety. And so if parents are feeling that stress, it adds to the kids' level of stress. And yes, without those social connections, it's really difficult for kids right now.
As we move forward, we've seen with a lot of organizations, funding can be challenges, or at least looking ahead to fundraising, for example. And I've got to think with your organization and other organizations you work with, I've got to think it's getting through the current situation, but you know, on the horizon, I'm sure that's one area that everyone's going to have to put their heads together is when it comes to fundraising.
That's true. We've had events that were canceled. We're fortunate enough to have a great community in Sarnia Lambton, so people have been donating to our agency. It's been wonderful, and we've received some grants from United Way, from Talk for Tamara, from the Sarnia Community Foundation that helped us get our virtual platforms off the ground and supply us with some laptops for our staff to be able to work from home. So we're so fortunate for that. But you're right, you know, not being able to fundraise is problematic. And but as I said, we're lucky. People have been donating to us right now. What the future holds, I don't know right now, but it will be problematic for a lot of agencies. We're mainly ministry funded, but we do depend on fundraising dollars because the ministry funding is always for service delivery and not for all the other things you need. But there's some agencies in our community that really depend on fundraising, and they will really be hit hard with this.
Finally, let's leave things on a positive note. What are you seeing in terms of those examples of people helping people and just people coming together right now?
Well, our as I mentioned, our partnerships right now with each other in the community, you know, so for example, the Inn and the Good Shepherd just gave us some cases of hand sanitizer for when we get back opening again. And the food boxes that are going out, and you know, we're all contributing in some way to the food boxes, whether it's us putting in mental health resources and others putting in food products. That's been very positive. The uptake we're seeing, you know, with the virtual counseling and stuff is going to be positive for the future. So, you know, we may not go back to some of the practices we had before. Some of it might change, especially reaching out to the rural communities. It's a good way for us to be able to reach out. We've wanted to implement virtual counseling for a long time at our agency, and this just pushed our hand at doing it quicker. So there is some good that's coming out, and just the connectiveness that we're seeing between people, and the generosity, and how well my staff have adapted to this. You know, like change is a hard thing on a given day, but this just threw us into a whole different way of working, and you know, they handled it beautifully, and I'm really proud of our staff and the way that they've been working. Yeah, so there's lots of good that you see it every day, you know, people bringing other people groceries and taking care of each other, and just different kind of concern, you know, and also keeping humor into things has been really helpful for us. And we've put a lot of staff wellness things into place that have helped staffs to be able to keep connecting with each other. And yeah, so there's lots of positives that I'm seeing through the negatives, you know. And you look at the environment, you know, how that's cleared up, and you know, we just got to get through this tough time and through the economic piece of it, and get our lives back to maybe a different norm. It might be a better norm.
That's great to hear some of the silver linings indeed. Sue, we appreciate the time. Take care, and we'll catch up to you again soon.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Terry.
There's Sue Barnes, Executive Director of St. Clair Child and Youth. You're watching Sarnia Lambton Daily on your TV. That's going to do it for our show tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. We will see you back here tomorrow.